Hello, my friends. John LaRuffa here with another straight up solo. In this episode, we're going to take a look at Ahau, which is actually how you say it. At least that's what it seemed like, or Ahau. I think it was Ahau. Anyway, Ahau, we're going to look at that from a solo perspective. I'm going to show you the way it plays. I'm going to give you some turns, and then I'll tell you what I think about it. So, let's go ahead and give it a shot. Okay, folks, and as usual, please like and subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't done so already. If you have, I really appreciate that support. Thank you so much. So right now, as it stands, we are about 2/3 of the way through the game. So we are coming into the third and final round, and the round may end a couple of different ways. It could end, well, it is going to end, I guess, in 2 turns because we're about to put our last couple of workers out, but the round could also end, or I should say the game, because it ends prematurely here, where people harvest enough to finish out this final cartoon. I think it's cartoon as it is. So that would end the game also. And then I think there might be a third condition, but the point is that we're about to finish this up. Oh, someone finishes their pyramid and then they're done. Now, like I said, we're playing a solo game, and this is what it looks like as we've crossed into the third period, the third cartoon. There's 3 of them. So based on the fact that we have just 2 workers left, it's about to be finished. Now, how does this game work? I will tell you, this game is extremely unique to me in its process. And that's saying a lot, right? Because I've played a lot of Euro games. I've done a lot of Euro games, and this one feels very, very unique. Now, people have said, at least I've read this is kind of a point salad. Kind of, sort of, but not in the way that I feel like I think of point salads. Usually the way I think of point salads, every time you do something, you gain points. Every single time. Here, there's lots of ways to score, but it doesn't happen every time. It's also not intuitively obvious what the strategy should be until you've gotten some time with the game and get some rounds under your belt and figure that out. So it is definitely just, I would say, just very new in the way it feels. Because it's not really a worker placement, it's not really an engine builder, it's not really a area majority, and at the same time, it is all of those things also. It is very, very unique in its design, okay? So, what do we have here? Well, we've got the board. The board there's 2 sides. The solo side, you play on the 2 to 3 player side, and the board is divided into 5 regions in this side, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. On your turn, you are going to play one of the cards you still have left in your hand. In this case, most of my hand has been played. So I have this 2 and a 6. The one side on the left will determine where your ruler is going to go. The other side on the right will determine your military strength. If it just happens that you go to the same place as your opponent, okay, the bot in this case, you'll have a conflict, and whoever's got the highest military strength will boot the other person out to an adjacent region. So let's say we both played the 4. You can't go to the 4, both of you. So whoever wins will stay there, and the other person will be booted out to either the 5 or the 3. And if they couldn't go there for whatever reason, which it never happens in a solo game, they'd be booted. They could go anywhere they wanted. All right. So what you're trying to do is you're trying to position your leader or ruler, okay, these standees, in a spot, and then take actions in that area, in any area that touches that. And I'll show you that. But basically what it comes down to is you're going to a region, you're going to take one of these pyramid tiles that's available, you're going to put it into your supply, not to build yet. You're going to put down one of your workers in any of the cities that is on the border of the region you're in. When you do that, you optionally could summon the god that is in this area, and it has to match whatever the city is. Like this one is this particular god over here. I have no idea how I'm going to say it, so I'm not going to try. And each of those gods does something very different than one other ones, but they are all activated by the amount of power that you use in summoning them. And the god powers that you use are determined by the different tiles you've built in the pyramid and the ones in your hand that you discard. So you keep whatever's in the pyramid when you do that activation, but you discard anything out here. And for each one you have, that's worth 1 power. And if you discard, you also get additional power. Based on that power will be based on the strength of the action, and there's a variety of different actions that you can do. Some have to do with improving your spot in the strength track. Some have to do with doing more harvest and production, not harvest, pardon me, production. Some have to do with trade, where you can swap your resources from one thing to another. Some have to do with actually discarding your worker, and when you discard your worker, you can gain fame from that move, and I think that's probably what I'm going to demonstrate depending on what happens here, because I'm kind of ready for that situation. And then other ones, let's see, so I did that. Oh, and then you can get more of these pyramid tiles in here. Now, where it gets to be slightly overwhelming is that not only do each of these god powers do drastically different things, but depending on the color, potentially, that will push you in certain directions or another. Depending on the strength, it'll give you to do certain things or other. If you have and one of the main reasons to some of them is if you have a tile of that god in your pyramid built, you can then put one of your tokens on one of these temples to score at the end of the round, which is the end of the cartoon or whatever they call it. And that then scores based on these different conditions up here. But it's not necessarily based on what you have. It's based on whoever's got the most of said condition. Anybody then who has a marker there will then score that many points depending on the situation. So that's new, kind of unique, also interesting. And they have a variant where you could just play on what you have, but I like the idea of you play on whoever's got something big the most. So that's kind of cool. So many of the gods helps you score on these, helps you do lots of wild and crazy actions. Well, I guess 5 different wild and crazy actions. Anyway, the other thing then after you do that is you can optionally either build, and that would mean build one of these buildings over here, and you have 5 slots for them on your pyramid, or build one of these tiles you have here, and the cost to build them depends on the level, and like any other kind of game like this, you got to build the base of the pyramid before you go up. And to build these building tiles, you have to discard the goods of the certain color that are shown there. They may give you some points when you do it, or if you build this one over here, it's worth it. You can discount one of those. To do the pyramids, you have to do different types of goods. And depending if you cover something that might unlock, not necessarily unlock, but it might give you some kind of bonus or other thing. And if you don't build, you can then produce. And to produce, you would pick one of the adjacent production sites depending on the place you put your guy. So for instance, if I put my guy in this spot on my turn right here, I could then produce here or here. And then I would get a certain number of goods based on the total number of adjacent workers that I have in that spot, and workers that are laid down are worth actually 2. Darn it, sorry. They're worth 2 points, okay? Or 2 workers, pardon me. And so after you do that, you do the whole thing again. And you keep playing that way until the end of the cartoon, and it ends when someone has produced, when we've produced and exhausted enough, because when I produce this, I actually remove it and I put it up here. And that will end the round once we fill in the space. But like I said, what you're going to see here is you're going to see shorter than that, because it ends when we have either the 2 workers out, or if one of us builds all 3 of these. So that is the overview of what's going on. Let me go ahead and demonstrate what's going to happen by kind of going through it. And I'll talk about the idiosyncrasies of the solo player as we go. So the first thing is the solo player is going to randomly draw 2 cards off his deck, 1 for the region and 1 for the strength. Now you do know what he's already done, so you have an idea of where he goes the more cards he was going to play. So if you want to have that fight, which can be a good thing or a bad thing, you can, at certain points, kind of guess and kind of pitch yourself in a situation where that would happen. Now, I only have 2. I got the 6 and the 2. It has to be 2 and 6, because there is no region 6 on this side of the board. So, I've played mine. Now we flip it over. Region 4, so we are not going to have any kind of conflict. He's going to move to region 4. I'm going to stay in region 2, okay? The lowest number goes first, but we do this part simultaneously. If we had a conflict, we would resolve it. Again, we'd resolve it by comparing our strength over here, plus our weapon strength over here. And then if there's still a tie, our strength on this. And if it's still a tie, I can't remember. But that's, oh yeah, no, there wouldn't be a tie because one of these goes on top of the other, depending on who got there first or who got there last, and the person who's on top breaks the tie. So, all right, so I told you I want to try to do this particular guy with what looks like a tiger. And so I'm in region 2. There happens to not be a city there, unfortunately. It's this city, so I can't do that this turn. So I won't be doing that, but I will take a worker and I'm going to put it in a city. Now, which city should I put it on depends on what I want to do. And actually, first we choose our situation here. So which tile do I want to choose? I'm going to choose this one. And which tile is he going to choose? He's going to choose based on his preference. So he has a favored God tile that he would want to do, and he'll choose there if it's available, and it's not. So then he goes down the list of his favor, and he's going to stop right here. So he's going to get this one. Okay. Now, after we've taken those, then we do the worker one at a time. And this is important to do it this way because it is kind of, since there's workers out here, you do sort of get lost a little bit. You kind of forget which worker did I put where, etc. So I'm in the lower number. I'm going to do it first. And what I'm going to try to do is maximize the effect of what's going on here. And based on what I'm going to try to do to score all these points is maybe even try to end it sooner rather than later. And in order to do that, I'm going to need a big production action or do something strong in that regard. So if I produce, I'm not going to be able to actually build. So if I summon this god, if I go here again and I summon this god, I have a strength of 1. Well, actually, so this one doesn't have to do with the number of tiles. What this does is deplete a production site matching the color of any tile used for the summoning. So what I have to do is I have a production site here, it's white, so I can deplete that tile. And what in doing so, I can, let's see, okay, so I can deplete this one right here, and then you get a certain number of resources based on the people. I have 4, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4. Now what I could have done is I could have decided instead of doing that, I could have decided to discard this and do a yellow. But the problem with that would be I don't have a lot of guys next to the yellow. So, oh, I even did that wrong. I'm sorry. So it's gain according to the action strength. So my mistake. It's not according to the people. This is the part I do find confusing. I'm not gonna lie. It does take a long time to get the hang of what the heck is going on here. So instead, I'm going to discard this to get an action strength of 2. 1 for here, 1 for there. That's an action strength of 2. I'm going to deplete this, and I'm going to take 2 yellow. And the reason I'm doing that is because I need dissimilar goods. Okay, so that was the god power. And because I have a god tile here, I also get to put this over here in the temple. And the first space always gives you 2 points. So I'm going to get 2 points. All right, then... And that was optional. So I placed my worker, which wasn't optional. But then I did this, that was summoning the god. Then optionally, I can either produce again or I can build. Well, I told you I want to build. Let's see how much I can build. So I have these 3 different ones here. And I have these 3 different ones there. Because this is where this comes into play. So because I have 1, 2, 3, 4, I can actually build 4 different things if I had the goods. And actually, I have a building that lets me do even 1 more. I don't have the goods, but I do have the goods to build 3 of them because I have 3 dissimilar things. Or 2 of them, pardon me. So I will do that. Instead of producing, I'm going to build these. So let's go ahead and discard these. And then discard these. And I'm going to put down, pardon me, this one for 4 points and this one for 4 points. The reason it's 4 points is because I am covering tiles that show 4 on there. So that's 8 total points. So that puts me to 57. And I have 1 tile left. If I had a few more goods, maybe I could have done it, but I don't. So then my turn is over. Now, there is a way to do trading. You can trade 2 of any one type of good for 1 of a different one. You can discard pardon me, similar ones of these to get other things. So there are some trading rules. Pardon me. So that's one more wrinkle in the whole thing that you can put in to kind of get yourself out of a bind. But I'm not going to be able to do that either here because it doesn't work with my strategy. So my turn's done. Now we go to him, and what he is going to do, he always wants to put the worker in a spot that's going to give him first, if there was a bonus building, which those are gone, he'd take it there. Then in a spot where he doesn't have the majority yet, then the top one, etc., etc. So what he's going to do, based on my understanding of the rules, since we are tied here, he's going to put it over here so that he gets the majority, because that will give him 2 points. He could have also gone there, but because this is the top one, he'll go to the top one. And this one's slightly bigger than this one, and going there wouldn't help. So he goes there, and that is this God tile. He will always do it if he can, but only if he has the God tile played, which he does not have the God tile played. So he does not summon a God. And then he will always try to build if he can. So he happens to have 3 resources, and he has 3 guys there, so you can build 3 resources. And what he can do here is he will discard to make up the difference over here. So with that 3 resources, he will spend 1, 2, and then discard 2 of these matching ones for another resource. I don't even know if it needs to be matching or not, to build the one that is most favored, which he doesn't have. So it goes down again, and it goes to this one. He's going to build this one. Okay, and then here are the 2 colored ones that match. Again, I have to look that up, but I don't remember. You get the point. You're able to get a discount by discarding a couple of these. Just like it simulates a trade, basically, okay? Now, he would build again if he had some amount, if he had 2 of those and enough, but he doesn't. He's out of that, but he does get the 4 points for building over there. 1, 2, 3, 4. So, actually, I take that back. He does not build this one, because his 9th building over here is to build this. So he won't get those. He'll get those 4 points, but he'll get those 4 points for actually building this. And he has to spend 1 more resource to do it. Actually, how many resources did he have? He had 2, but he doesn't do that. He doesn't do this thing unless he's building those. So he's going to spend the 3. So he has 3 resources. He'll spend the 3. I believe he builds the one that's furthest to the left, because that's not there. He's going to then build this. So that costs him 2. He gets a point for it. And he also gets 4 points on easy mode, which is what I'm playing on, to go over here. And then he moves this up. And now we're back to that same scenario where we were before. Okay, that's what he's going to do. That's the rules. And I will tell you this: it would really have been nice to get some kind of player aid for the solo, because unfortunately, I think the solo is good. I'm going to say that right now. But the solo mode has a lot of stuff that you have to reference again and again and again. And it's hard to reference that. We need some reminder, something else would be good. It took me a long time to kind of figure out what he was going to do. Now, in subsequent plays, you kind of get an idea of what he would want to do based on the most optimum move, but it did take me a long time to get through that and to feel that part out. So he is built. That is the end of the turn. He did not produce. He's always going to want to build if he can. So we discard this, and we will have 1 more turn, and then I will show you the scoring, which is important to see too. So in our last turn, since I'm out of cards, I will get all my cards back. He still has more than 2, so he doesn't get these back. So we know he's played the 5s that he's had, the 4 and the 3. So that means he's got a 2, a 1, and a 6 in here. And we don't know what he's going to get. All right? I have all sorts of choices, but I do know for a fact that I want to go to spot number 1. Is it spot number 1? No, I need to go to spot number 3, because I need to stand up this worker, which is effectively like losing 1. I'm not going to get the majority anyway there, and I need to use that God power. So I'm going to choose region 3, and I'm going to do it with a 6. So we're probably not going to have a conflict because he's already spent his 3, so I already know that. So the question is, I actually prefer a conflict because I think I'm stronger than him to win. So what region is this? That's region 4. He's already spent his 4. And I could go to 5. He spent his 5. So there's no way I can go where I want to go. So we're not going to see the conflict, but that's okay. All right, so He went to, there is no 6, so what he does is in that case is he swaps them. And so now he goes to region 2, which is where I was, and I go to region 3 over here. He goes first, well, oops, I'm sorry. We have to add these temple tiles back in. All right, so he goes there. He's going to take this one because that's his favorite tile. And then I'm going to take this one only because I don't think it really matters at this point what I'm taking with my choices there. Now, I do have a special ability I could take, and I will take actually. My special ability bonus is I can take one from an adjacent region, which I'm going to take this one because this will help. Okay, so he's in that first region. He is going to go first, and he is going to place his last worker in a spot that would give him the majority. There's no bonus buildings, so that means right here he's going to rob me of it. Okay. Now with that, he's going to see, can he play a god tile? Yes, he can. The god tile he can play is the one that draws more tiles from the bag. He has one over here, and for every 3 tiles, he will discard some more. So he discards these 2. I'm not exactly sure what this is going to do to help him, if anything. But he basically gets to draw 3 god tiles from the bag at this point. Again, I don't think it's really going to help. But what it does do, which does help, is it allows him to put one of his scoring things on this temple right here, which will get him 2 points. And for every building he's built, well, he'll get 5 points because I've built 5 buildings, so that'll help him score those points right there. And that's the intricate and tricky thing. That summoning the gods isn't just for the pieces, it's also for the majorities or whatever you're trying to score, whatever these categories would be. Some of them for buildings, some of them for military strength, some of them for different tiles in there, some of them for how many goods you have. There's a lot of different ones, okay? I think there's actually, now that I think about it, 7 or 8 different ones. And so that's a really important part of scoring and playing the god tile, and where do I got to put my worker and how much is there, etc. There is a lot to consider when you're taking your moves here. Okay, so he's done that. Now again, he's going to try to build. How many people does he have in that area? He's got 3, so he can build 3 things. But he's a little short on resources at this point. So unfortunately for him, fortunately for me, he's not going to be able to build because he can't afford any of it. So he's going to exhaust, I can't remember what the scenario was as far as exactly which one he picks. It doesn't even really matter at this point. So he's just going to pick the one. I think it would be best for him to pick the one over here because this could potentially be something that I would activate. And so there we go. And he will get 1, 2, 3, 4 of those resources. And so we mark his stuff up here to the level 5, and that will help a little bit with scoring, I believe, if he unlocks it. So his turn's done. Now my turn for my last worker. I said I want to put it here because this particular god power allows me to remove one of your workers from an adjacent production site. Remove one of your workers adjacent to a production site matching the color of any tile used for summoning, and gain 1 fame for each action strength. You may then advance the space in the might track 1. So I have a wild, so that doesn't matter to me. I can remove it from any spot. And since I have a wild, I want to remove it from here. I'm going to take this guy right out of the game. He doesn't go back in. I think remove is gone. I don't think you get him back. But the good news is that I get to score 1 fame for each action strength. Well, my action strength is 1, because I'm going to discard this. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I get 6 points out of that maneuver, which is really strong. Plus, I can advance here and get 2 more goods, which won't matter, I don't think, in this case. And then I get to put my tile, oh, it will matter, because I'm going to this spot right here. No, it won't, because he's got more than I do. And that's 2 more points. Okay, so that was the god tile. Now, do I want to build? I'm just short of it, unfortunately. I'm just short of it. However, I do want to produce because I just put my guy in there, which gives me stuff for every 3 different types of goods I have. So I've got 3 different types right here. It gives me points for every different type of good I have. I've got 3 right here. He gets it a little bit different because his goods are universal. So for him, he'll score 1 point for every 3 he has. So that right now is just at 1. But I've got 3, so I need some different ones. And since I put my guy here, I've already got a blue, I've already got the brown, but I don't have a black. So I'm going to do the production action, and with my production action, because of one of my special buildings, I get a couple extra, which I don't think will matter. But my strength here is 2, because he's laying down, plus the 2 for the production building is 4. So this will be 4 black. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, whoops. All right, so I've produced, and because we've played all of our workers, that's it. So normally, a cartoon would end when someone harvests one more time, but because we've done what we did, it's over. So now we go to the scoring. So first of all, during the end of the game, let's see, yeah, all workers on the board. So complete the round, perform the final. So we've completed the round. There's no reason to put these tiles back out or anything like that. So we're gonna go ahead and perform the final scoring for the cartoon and be done. So the first thing we do with the cartoon scoring is we score temples. So I have presents in this one. This is for different types of guys in these spots off the side. Well, I don't have any. He's got a ton. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He has all 5 different types. So that means I get 5 points. So he actually helped me there. Even though I only have 1, it's the maximum category. So that's 5 here, and he's not there, so he doesn't score those. Then it's different types of goods. I'm the only one there. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 different types of goods. So that's 4 more points. Then I have a building that says score 1 point for every place you don't have anybody. Well, I don't have anybody here or here, so that's 2 more points. Then he has this one here, which is the number of buildings. All right, so we're going to score 1 point for every number of buildings. Well, I have 5, he has 3, so this one is the bigger, it's 5, so he's going to get 5 points. And I just want to be 100% sure. Yeah, it's always just 1 fame for whatever the situation is. So he is going to get 5 points, and I'm going to get nothing. Now we score majorities in cities. So if there's a tie, both of us get 1 point. So I'm going to count his first. So he's winning there. So it's 2, 4. I've got that. 6, 8, 10, 11. So he has 11. That's going to put him to 71. I have 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9. I've got 9. Puts me to 85. So we've done those, we've done the score cities, and then now the game is over. And I don't think there's anything else to score. That's it. Okay, so that is the end of the game, and I won 85 to 71. Now I'm playing on easy mode. And it is definitely, you can tell they have easy, medium, and hard. You could definitely tell that the medium and hard are going to be more. I think that my guess is once I know the game even better, I'm going to want to play on hard mode. That's my guess. Because the obscurity of this game took a little while to sink in on what I was doing, but now that I know a lot better in this, I think that the hard mode is probably going to be where I'm going to want the challenge. And what that does is, the hard mode does a few things, but one of the main things it does is that it puts additional scoring categories on. First of all, you give him 3 weapons, so he's already got a challenge. He's already winning in the standpoint of. Wait a minute, place one of the markers each middle space. Yeah, so he's already winning here, but then you're also going to have 3 of these out here at the beginning, which is going to help him score points when you probably won't. And then he continues to add more of them regardless. 3 more at the second and 2 more at the third. So it's going to help him score a lot more points that way. And that's going to add up pretty quick. So you have seen, I think, all the mechanics of this game. Got a good understanding. The only thing you didn't see is the conflict, but I explained it enough. So let me tell you what I think about it. So Ahau is a very uniquely playing game, in my opinion. The whole thing is a blend of mechanics, none of which I guess are really necessarily new mechanics. Like but they come together in a way that I haven't really seen before. So I would say this is a Euro game that stands on its own as a complete, different, and unique experience. There's a blend of tactics and a blend of long-term strategy for sure. The tactics are, you can get those majorities in the cities. You may want to get some bonus buildings. There actually was one bonus building out there, but it never got claimed. And maybe I missed that when he was standing in Region 4. It's possible I did. That's one thing it is. The board does get a little bit... I love the board, by the way. But there is a lot of clutter, so to speak, on it. So it's sometimes things blend in. And so he may have actually had another tile, which I can give him, that had been 4 more points, and he would have been at 75. So the fact of the matter is that there's a lot going on in this game. I would say that it is convoluted to start. And that's why it's important to understand when you're playing it that after the conflict and after you both select your tiles, you do all of the one person and then all the other person. I was kind of goofing it up a little bit, not in the video, but early when I was starting to learn the game, I was kind of doing it in parallel, and that really makes it difficult to understand what's going on. It definitely takes a full game to kind of figure out, okay, this is now blending, this now makes sense, I can see what I'm sort of doing here, what's my strategy going to be. It is not, I'd say, intuitively obvious at the beginning. And the game also has a ramp-up curve, which I like. Sometimes in tactical games, you just keep repeating the same thing over and over. But this, because you keep putting workers down, there is a gradual ramp up of what you're trying to do, both in how much you can produce and the amount of tiles you get and everything. So it crescendos, which I think is good. And I would say that's a very positive thing in any game, but especially in this one. You want a crescendo. I think that when you don't have a crescendo in a game has a bigger tendency to drag, because you're just doing the same thing over and over for X rounds. There's no rising action, there's no exciting conclusion, there's no big, a lot of times there isn't. It's just, it's like you're just fighting amongst yourselves. This game does not have that. It's definitely got a piece of that, of the crescendo, and it's nice. I would say that they did a lot of work to try to work the theme into this. They've got a booklet that talks about the history of these people. It's clear that the person who made this game really liked the culture and tried to do their best, and did a great job with the auxiliaries and making things colorful and making things look good. But I would say that it's not really a game where the mechanics shine the theme out. Because, I'll put it this way. All right, so to build a building, I got to discard 2 white and 1, it ends up being 2 limestone and 1 cacao. Well, why? I don't know. It's just a building, and why would it be? It feels very abstract in that regard. When I'm building my pyramid, it's just different color resources. It doesn't really matter. You're just making different color. And you could say, well, I was giving offerings to the gods or whatever. You could make it there, but that definitely feels like it's just a Euro of different stuff of here and match these colors and that. The workers placement, that doesn't necessarily mean, like, thematically doesn't make a ton of sense. And the gods, they're so abstract. I don't know. I've never worshipped pagan gods, so I have no idea if there's thematics there or not. But maybe there is, and maybe there is based on, because it is the god of trade, the god of this. That's probably the best part of it, right? But you and I don't. Well, maybe you do. Maybe you know all about the Yucatán lore. I don't. I'm just putting it here and doing what the action is, right? So anyway, that's my only real downside about this, is that they did an awesome job trying to hit the theme, but it does have some generic Euro trapezoids in there, which is okay. I don't really care. I barely play games for theme anyway, unless it's a story or something like that. So that doesn't matter to me. What I would say is this game has a learning curve. It has a strategy learning curve, and it would benefit highly from some kind of player aid for the solo side. You do get a player aid for the action phase and everything else, which is nice. That's really good. And you get a player aid for the god powers, which is essential. But you need, I think you could need something for the solo. Other than that, I think it's a really good experience. It's really cool. There is a player aid you can download that explains the different god powers and the different building powers better, and I think that's really important. I did download that from Board Game Geek, and it's very helpful. But yeah, overall, it's a fresh, new kind of feel on a game that is a standalone mechanic blend of different things, and I like it. I would definitely say though, this is one that you have to be concentrating. This is not a light game. It's not impossible, but you have to think many turns ahead of why am I putting this worker here? What benefit is it going to give me? Do I have the tiles to make it the best? Do I score in this? What's the score going to be? What is the opponent going to do so that I can score there? Can I get into a military conflict so I can bump up and get a bonus on the might track? There's just a lot to consider. So I would say this is a thinking person's game for sure, which I like, but it is not a casual, experience of little this or little that, a little engine building. It's definitely one you got to pay attention and concentrate with. So if that sounds good to you, then this is the game for you. If you're looking for something new and novel, this has it. If you're looking for something light and breezy, with an easier learning curve and a solo mode that doesn't have a lot of, well, how do I choose priorities? This one's got some prioritization. Until you figure out what he would do, then you could just make that decision probably, but you have to follow the solo mode of this, and this, and this, and this, and a little player aid would help with that. Either way, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Whatever you decide to do in the future, I hope you have a fantastic time doing it. Take it easy, everybody.